Alright, we are in. Ever since its first staging in 1976, the Japanese Grand Prix has become one of the famous stops on the Formula One calendar. 3.6 mile Suzuka International Racecourse, consisting of 18 turns, 8 to the left and 10 to the right, has seen plenty of high-profile title deciders over its years in Formula One. With its technical first sector and single DRS zone on the pit straight, overtaking can be a bit of a challenge on this track, but we promise plenty of action nonetheless tonight. Welcome to round 8 of our Zoom Racing League Championship. I'm John Ranger, as your host with you tonight, and I'm clearly seeing a visual issue here. We're starting off on the right foot. Let's make it something a little bit better here. Alright, well, technical issues here. Thanks to a couple of... I don't know what's going on here, but yeah. It's good. That's the way the stream is going to start. I don't know if you probably hear the game, though, but you can't see it. So, let me get into some technical issue fix-ups here, and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright, we are back. Sorry for that technical issue there. For some reason I couldn't get the game view up, but we are back in. There you go. Ooh, a lot of issues here tonight, but we're making it work. So where were we at? I was going through the intro and didn't have any visuals. You're going to recognize that everybody's driving the F1 World Cars, and we're in the middle of qualifying. Looks like Hudson Poole has, I don't know if he crashed or decided not to do a fast lap so far. So we do have 20 drivers. We have a number of reserves as well. You know, so it's nice to see that some guys made a lot of effort into putting the Red Bull cars, or their actual team cars. Bernard McDowell using the Verstappen.com Red Bull livery. Going through the other guys, now we got Aaron Allmeyer and Mike Simbolio in the Aston Martins. Putting in a nice green. Marc-Louis Bastin in the Williams. Under the special liveries, it seems. Eric Cavallo, a little bit of an effort there with the Alpine. We got the blue and the pink. That's great there. Ryan Newton currently at a 126.4. P1 for him with a little over 5 minutes to go in qualifying. And Bechtel back into P1. He goes. And Eric Cavallo, look at that. It's a little bit of a musical chair for P1. And so these guys are maybe getting used to their cars, getting used to their setups. The track evolution is happening as well. These cars do not drive as the usual multiplayer or the actual cars we usually drive. Unfortunately, EA Sports giving us plenty of fun bugs to handle here. And so now we are forced to drive with the F1 World cars. So a little bit more slippery on the rear end. And not as fast in the top end speed. Nathan Doan in the McLaren here. A nice black and orange kind of livery. Looks pretty good. Trying to see if we could spot other guys. Spinaxis, that looks like his own livery. Don't know who. I'm seeing Spinaxis. Could that be Koopa? It could be Koopa and the Alfa Romeo, I believe. I think that is him, but with the couple of reserve drivers. Well, let's go through the reserve drivers right now, actually. We do have a couple of them, so I'll assume Spinaxis is Koopa, as we see on the Discord chat. We've got, in the pits currently, we've got Shry, who's replacing Quinton K, a D3 driver, but actually absolutely dominating Division 3, Shry. Currently sitting P11 with a 127.2. Not far off his teammate Jack Fletcher in the Haas. So these two guys, very similar pace. Shry has improved incredibly this season, and having a chance to race in Division 1, you know, you get to see where he could slot his car there and in qualifying so far. So, you know, P11 for him, it's pretty good. Blake Stevenson in a Ferrari, currently sitting P15. Also in the Ferrari, we've got two Ferrari reserves, I believe. No, two Alfa Romeo reserves. Marcel Paps is in for the Ferrari. So we don't have a view on their livery for now, but we're gonna get it in a while. Another reserve we have Duncan McCamick, who himself is in the AlphaTauri. So we've got AlphaTauri. Combined YouTuber should be there as well. Yeah, P14, Combined YouTuber. Another reserve in the Alpine. So he's probably got a similar livery that looks to Era's. So we've got an Alpine in first position and the other one in P14. And so well, most of the drivers are in the pits now. I'll probably be coming out around the 2-minute 30 mark. So keep an eye on these guys, how they're doing. Looks like Stellar Stripass is beginning his fast lap. I don't think he's going to have time to make a second fast lap to go. So Stellar Stripass, I got to remember, I believe he's also in the AlphaTauri, if I remember correctly. I have to go check real quick. So let's get on board with him. He's on a fast lap. Currently got a 140, so that was not at all his fastest lap. Yeah, it's his only chance to get a fast lap going, so he's got to be perfect here, and he's definitely pushing it. These cars got to be careful if you're not using the ABS assist. You got to be a little bit careful on the hard braking zones, on the hairpin here too. Your brake bias is important here for the S's and for the hairpin in order to not lock up the tires and get the better rotation you want in your car as well. Into 130R he goes. Stellar Stripass over 300 kilometers an hour here. Surprisingly, no DRS zone, probably because this fast left-hander could be a little bit dangerous here. Very risky part of the track to make an overtake, but if you can make it work, gives you a good position through the chicane. Third gear, full throttle, goes on the tightest line he can, and that's going to be a 127.3. That's good for P13, and that's going to be it for Stelios. So okay, he's got a lap going, but he doesn't have time to make another first lap going. Hudson Poole currently P19 in the pit, so he's retired his car. Let's keep an eye with the telemetry here. Get my track map out. So it's Magnussen Cube who will be starting his next lap. Let's get an eye on him. Clean first sectors. We have... Oh, somebody's gone off. I'm trying to figure out who that is in sector 1, but somebody's completely off and looks like it doesn't have the telemetry either. So it's a red... it's Spinaxis. I think he's retired his car there. So right behind Magnussen Cube, there was a... an Alfa Romeo. I would assume that's the Alfa Romeo of Koopa, who was trying to go for a fast lap and I believe just retired it. Binned it and retired it. Dougie Falcons currently P20 has not set a time. Let me just keep an eye on him. Where is he at? Dougie Falcons is currently setting on a fast lap. So we're on board with Magnussen Cube. He's going to be the next one, the first one of the pack across the line here. See where he could improve. He's only just about 5/100ths of a second. The chicane is a great spot to gain a lot of time here. So let's see if he's able to do that. So far, he's sitting at a 1:26.6. He'd want to get a little bit more time than that. And that'll be an improvement, but still P5 for him. Next across the line, it's going to be Jack Fletcher. P9 does not improve for him. Nathan Doan is done as well. Who do we have? So Surpass is coming in. We've got Kyle Blevins. Kyle Blevins currently sitting P10. He's going to get P7, so a good improvement for him. Right behind him, I'm seeing Brandon Bechtel, who gets P1 as well. Marc-Olivier Bastin, 126.4. That's P2 for him. We're going to have Eric Cavallo, I think one of the last drivers to go across. Combined YouTuber is going to be next across the line. That's P15. Dougie Falcons next across the line. That is P7. Ryan Newton is next, and that is pole for Ryan Newton. 126.3. Great time for him. Aaron Altmaier goes P5. Next across the line is Maxime Beaulieu and Marcel Pabst. Pabst goes P7. And Maxime at a spot where he is. He's P13. And Eric Cavallo drops to P4. Are we all done here? I believe so. No, Schrei is still going on his fast lap. Oh no, he's 2 minutes 20. I don't know what's going on with him. So I think he was one of the drivers who may have had an issue or crashed, but that is not going to be an improvement for him. And there it is. That is the end of qualifying. It's Ryan Newton in his own black livery Mercedes. That is P1, just 14 thousandths of a second ahead of Brandon Bechtel and his Red Bull. Marc-Olivier Bastien is P3, Eric Cavallo P4, Aaron Altmaier, an impressive lap from him. I think that is his highest qualifying result so far this season. P5, P6, Magnussen Cube, great performance from him too. Marcel Pabst, Dougie Falcons, Cam Bourne, Kyle Blevins. And the bottom 10 is reserved for Jack Fletcher, Ed Schrei, both teammates starting one behind another. Maxime Beaulieu P13, still Repas 14, Duncan McCamick and P15 combined P16. And then we have Stevenson, Nathan Doan, Spinaxis, and Hudson, who has not set a time here. We'll find out what is the reason for that. But the race will be coming underway shortly. Cracking myself a cold one. I believe so far it's going to be a... Yeah, so far it's going to be a solo stream for me, so that's all good. Curious to see what the tire strategy is going to be, and I'm looking at the telemetry here. I wonder if some of these guys that qualified maybe at a lower time, maybe, just maybe they adjusted their setup a little bit. So far, it's going to be a dry race. There may be some rain towards the very end of this race. Obviously, if there's a safety car, virtual safety cars or a full safety car, that lengthens the race and increases the chance of rain coming and make a play here in this race. So that'll be really interesting. Got to keep an eye on the weather here. Next thing for these people want to keep an eye on for sure, it will be their tire wear and tire pressures. It doesn't react exactly the same in the F1 World cars compared to these cars. Expect a lot of medium and hard runners here. I think I'm seeing a softened P6 there. And away we go. The Japanese Grand Prix is underway. It's a great start from Ryan Newton. Magnussen Cube already losing 2 positions. And Marc-Olivier Basset on the inside, on the outside actually of Bechtel. Aren't they going to be fighting for that next corner there? And Basset completes the move. And it's a clean start to this race so far. Into the S as they go. Ryan Newton is running away with this one so far. And right behind him, Basset and Bechtel. And there's an incident in the back. And that is Hudson Poole, I believe. It is Hudson Poole, so I don't know if he hit a car or had an incident. Nathan Doan is bringing up the rear as well on P19. Doesn't look like there's any damage as well for Hudson Poole and the Mercedes. Combined YouTuber making an overtake on Stellar Strepass, Division 2 driver replacing Andy Alpine there. Great move from him. Marcel Paps on the inside here of Aaron Altmaier. He's trying to make it work. It doesn't. It's still Aaron Altmaier in P5. Great clean race from these gentlemen right now. Just keep a track on who's making up positions as we go along for now, and we'll look into the tire strategies in just a second. It's Duncan and Stevenson who are fighting side by side there a little bit. I think Stevenson lost out into that spoon curve at turn 14. And it's Spin Axis, Koopa, I believe, who's looking to maybe make a move here, and he's right on his tail. He's got the soft tires on. Let's take a look at that right now. On the inside he goes, but Stevenson keeps it, and Marcel Paps looks like he got into an incident, and now he's down in P19. Stevenson also makes an overtake on Magnussen Cube, so it looks like Magnussen and Marcel Paps both had an incident out there in the chicane, and Nathan Doan is the next driver to have an incident spinning out outside of the chicane, and that's a tough corner there. We saw Logan Sargent have a major moment, and looks like that was one of the issues that happened in the back there. In regards to tire strategies, it's an interesting mix. We have 4 drivers currently on soft tires. We'll see how long they could make it work. And that's a virtual safety car. Nathan Doan is in the wall. So it looks like Nathan Doan was just done with his race at that time. The game disqualified him from being parked there, so I'm wondering if that's a bit of a rage quit for him there. That is it for Nathan Doan. Parking his car there. I'm wondering if that's going to turn into a full safety car. It doesn't look like it might. And so the damage and the debris there. So already a couple incidents. It looks like Marcel Paps, Hudson Poole, Magnussen Cube are the drivers who been losing out a lot of positions. Actually, Hudson Poole missed out in qualifying altogether, and so only gains a position thanks to Nathan Doan. But he's had an incident already and is really behind the pack. All right, well, we're back under race conditions here, and DRS will be enabled. There's only one DRS zone. It's in the main straight. That is, it's an opportunity for overtaking, but we'll see how these cars perform under DRS and slipstream conditions. Ryan Newton so far is in the lead. He's just a little under 4/10 ahead of Marc-Olivier Basset. We've seen Basset. How often have we seen the Williams driver in podium positions, but not necessarily running away with the lead there? He's just missing that fraction of a second that he wants to get to be able to lead a race properly up until the very end. I think his closest race to a win he had was in Singapore, where unfortunately it ended in a wall for him due to I was gonna say a race incident. It was definitely an incident that happened during the race, but would deem a penalty to Srini G at that time, Chad Swindell, who was deemed responsible for that incident. There's another car in the back. Who's spinning? Who is it? It is Marcel Pabst. So far, I would say the top 5 are comfortably following each other. Some people are probably feeling more comfortable driving these kind of cars compared to the actual cars. There's a slight difference in handling and the rear traction, especially, I find. ABS, for those drivers who are driving without any ABS assists, I find it's a little easier to lock the brakes compared to the other cars. So a little bit of adjustments there, probably using the brake bias and adjusting it throughout a lap. It's a single foul. There's not a lot of side-by-side action trying to find out who's fighting who so far. Everybody's being rather tame. Oh, there's another spin in the back, and this time, yeah, that's Koopa. So chances are is the drivers here were practicing with the actual cars and then in practice with these. Well, the adjustment in driving here may be the reason why we have some spins. There's a move here being made for the lead. Marc-Olivier Basset is in the lead. And there's a sector flag in Sector 1, Sector 3 outside the chicanes, just out of turn 18. Seeing the yellow car, I believe that is Repas who may have triggered that one. And in the back, it's been accessed, I think, both drivers, either for their tires or for their... Let's see if... Oh, Spin Access is done. So that is done for Spin Access. He has DNF'd, retired in the pits after 5 laps, and I believe that was his first race here in ZRL. That was it for him. And now in the back, a situation is happening. Ryan Nugent, I have not seen what happened there, but he is losing positions. I think he had a moment and now has lost 3 positions this lap to Bastien, to Bechtel and Cavallo, and now Aaron Altmaier pushes past him. Ryan Newton is going to decide to slot right behind him and try to use a slipstream to his advantage. Just get on board with him. There's a difference in top speed so far with Newton and the drivers ahead of him. In the back, there's another overtake, and it seems like it's Duncan again against Blake Stevenson. And in the back, Schrei, who's lost 2 positions to his teammate Jack Fletcher and Maxime Beaulieu. Beaulieu is trying to maybe get into the inside of Fletcher, doesn't make it happen, and so Fletcher is in the S's, and that's really interesting. He's got the advantage of the tires for now. Drivers on the soft tires normally would be starting to feel their tire degradation, I would say around lap 7 or 8. And that makes it a bit of a rush to get the soft tires up to a proper pitting strategy, which normally should be able to, I'd say around lap 11 or 12 for mediums, and then the hards could make a proper 15 laps under these conditions. But pushing on the soft so hard, you might be pushing them above 60% overall wear, and that makes it extremely difficult. First of all, to hang on in certain situations here with the worn soft tires, but you really lose a lot of time in the S's in Sector 1, and that is where a lot of time could be gained, which becomes crucial for the rest of the lap as well. Through the chicanes we go, and we've seen this time and time again in this league. Basset is leading, but that's not going to last very long because Bechtel has got the DRS, has got the slipstream, and so they will both be trading a little bit of slide there for Basset, very well controlled. Saw the rear just kick out just the very slightest in turn 1. So we might be seeing this for the remainder of the first stint, right? The first stint strategies. Both Bechtel and Basset will be trying to pit at the same time, or trying to undercut one another. So that'll be curious to see. I'm curious to see where which driver is going to try for the undercut first. Carvalho is aggressively behind Basset. He's trying to make a position work here. You have to manage your battery carefully here in this kind of race. Bit of a slower corner for him, and P turns 13 here at Spoon. But he's got the DRS. He's able to, well, not the DRS, he's got the slipstream, and so that allows him to get a little bit quicker, closer to Basset. He thinks about a possible dive bomb, but that's not going to happen here. And expect another switch in the lead. Again, a trade between Bechtel and Basset. He's got the DRS. He's going to try to make it work. Oh, he's got to get on the battery to make it work in time. Oh, and he doesn't. Oh, and there's a major collision there. That is the major crash into Brendan Bechtel. How did that? I believe he got out of the way. It looked like he actually hit Brendan Bechtel, but that didn't happen at all. Really interesting. That's an interesting way to the way it happened. It looked like he rammed right into the side of Brendan Bechtel. Would have definitely pushed him off track, but it didn't happen. And now we're seeing Marc-Louis Basset down in P8. He doesn't look like he's got any damage on his front wing either. I think Bechtel closed the door on him, and he maybe got out of the way just in time to avoid a severe collision there, because that was surely a DNF for him. And that opens the door for Eric Carvalho for a potential move on Brendan Bechtel and Ryan Newton, who's trying to gain by his lead back. Alright, just inviting old trusty here. Nathan Doan should be with us in a second. All right, we're back on live, and I'm here with Old Trusty. I thought I was still on the broadcast channel in Discord, but had technical issues. Nathan Doan. Nathan, welcome back in the broadcast. Thank you for helping me complete this race.
Yes, sir. I am here.
All right. What happened?
Okay, so I had a complete brake failure. So my load cell for my brake, it completely exploded. My red spring bounced off my wall and went into the carpet, so I had to look around and find it. So that's why, 1, I didn't make it through turn 2, and 2, I couldn't restart to get back on track, and that's how I got disqualified. But now I'm here serving a better purpose. So as we see, Dougie Falcons making a move on Kyle Blevins, and now Cam Bourne is actually going to make it past Kyle Blevins. Those hard tires, I don't know if that's the reason for his struggles. Actually, no, that's not Cal on the hard tires. That's Kyle Blevins on the medium tires, but Cam Bourne on the hards gained past him anyway, so maybe it is Cam Bourne getting his hard tires to work now, and maybe he'll only start to gain time. And in that beautiful triple crown livery, he has the Alfa Romeo of Dougie Falcons ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful livery there for sure. Eric Cavallo also took the lead of the race on Brandon Bechtel. We're seeing so far the top three trading the leads regularly. I was getting normally it would be top four, but it was a major incident with Marc-Olivier Bastien earlier, dropping down to P8, and so top three are in positions to be trading the lead of the race off of the DRS in the main straight. And surprisingly, very surprisingly, I should say, Eric Cavallo, Magnussen Cube, I'm curious to see how their tires are holding up, because I know those soft tires are probably screaming at them already. This is a track with a very high tire degradation, and the soft tires tend to not really last very long, or if they do, they're in the uppers of the 60%, at least from my simulations that I've run this week with the F1 World Car. And so far, Eric Cavallo, he's holding on with the lead so far. Magnussen Cube, who's lost a lot of positions this race, having started 6th, I believe, and is now in P12. He's probably going to be looking to make an undercut work sooner than later. And we'll also notice something, Nathan. The weather has been changing. It's getting a little bit darker here. And so let me go look at my telemetry real quick.
Yeah, so
we should be getting rain eventually this race. We're not exactly sure when, but towards the end, right?
Yeah, 2 blocks of rain at the very end. So I'm not sure how much that is in laps. I've never figured it out, but I do know that we are in for some light rain. I know that it won't be heavy rain, that's for sure, but some light rain, that's just enough to spice it up here in Suzuka today.
Yeah, Suzuka has a lot of changing temperature, and one thing that's worth noting is depending on when that rain is going to come, we may be staying on the dries for long enough to finish a race, or we may have to go into the intermediate. So we'll see what these drivers decide to do. I'm thinking some of the guys on the hard tires are going to try to go on a longer run and try to play with the weather here for a one-stop race.
Yes, absolutely, and all the different strategies of tires. I'm wondering, maybe some hard tire runners are trying to make it to the rain. I think that'd be pretty difficult. But I think we should see maybe one stop from everyone on the grid, unless we want to see a driver like Gambor and Maxime Beaulieu just trying to go to the rain, as we see Becky B is Brendan Bechtel.
Yep.
Oh, as Eric Cavallo comes into the pit, so he almost went into the back of Era. He's going to make a move on Era, but now that is not happening because he is indeed into the pits. Also in the pits, Dougie Falcons, so soft and medium tires pitting around the same time. Is that a normal strategy? We do not know. Maybe Dougie... Okay, so Dougie's back onto the medium tires, so he's definitely going to be doing a 2-stop race, and I'd assume that would be back on to some intermediate tires for the rain. Only question is for me, though, will the rain be heavy enough for intermediates? Because it's going to be right at the end, right? So maybe some slick tires with enough grip would get you through the rain, but Dougie Falcon seems to be thinking otherwise right now.
Well, Dougie put himself in a situation that if there is rain, he needs to switch to a different compound. So he's most probably not going to have a choice but to go into the intermediate tires towards the end of the race, whether the conditions are best for intermediates or not, because he's just put on 2 sets of mediums so far. He's got to pit another time compared to a driver like Era, who started on the softs, is now on the mediums. Those mediums will most probably carry him either to meet a new set of intermediates if it rains hard enough, or towards the end of the race, given the tire strategy that he is using. What's your thought on going from soft to mediums, though? That kind of strategy for me seems like we're bringing the tire wear to very high extremes, and I'm not 100% sure on a track like Japan that is the best strategy to go for.
I mean, it's really a gamble about when the weather comes into play, as, whoa, what's going on here in 130R? Okay, so Duncan McCamick making it past Hudson Poole, but Hudson Poole coming back, and he's made that move absolutely brilliantly. Will Duncan McCamick come back? It doesn't look like he will. So I'll continue on with what I was saying about the weather. I mean, soft to mediums, definitely the maximum pace strategy if you ask me, but definitely risking it with the tires. You will have to, as Eruption tries to go around the outside of Duncan McCamick. It's all going on.
I think we almost ran into the back of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Duncan has a moment, so Eruption is going to glide past the Max Verstappen car of Duncan McCamick. So that is one position for him. The hard tires are definitely starting to work a bit better than the medium tires. but I'll finally finish what I was saying about the tires. Soft to medium, in my opinion, the best pace strategy, but a bit risky unless you're good on the tires.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that plays out. So far, obviously, we're in the middle of tire strategies and pit strategies here. Cal Blevins with a 3-second time penalty. He's currently in P3 behind Cam Bourne, maybe setting himself up for a position switch. These drivers have been reusing their battery a lot more than I would expect them to do so. We've seen a lot in the past couple races where drivers were very, very conservative with their battery. Feels like, I don't know if it's just this car, whereas we're seeing Bechtel, Cam Bourne, and Blevins going to the pits. And that'll be another thing, right? I'm hoping these guys don't have too much of an issue with it, but there's no assigned pit boxes for these drivers compared to the normal cars. So you could be pitting with a random driver in front of you and end up exactly in the same pit box, and that would be terrible for that kind of situation. Another terrible situation as we're seeing the grid shuffle around as there's a lot of drivers into the pits. Duncan McCamick with a 5-second time penalty, speeding under the pit lane.
Yeah, and I just like the fact that the pit crew ran out in about 1 second and fit the tires and just double that. So 5 seconds for Duncan McCamick. Red Bull won't have to hold him for that because you can't serve it as Stelios Repos gets one as well. 5-second time penalty. So we have Marc-Valery Bastien. He's on the soft tires, but the question is, can they make it to the rain? I mean, so 11 laps. I remember, who was it that was on the soft tires at the start of the race?
Eric Cavallo. He went up to lap 11.
Yeah, so if the tires can make it to lap 11, then surely they can make it to the point of rain. And let me think. So 2 blocks of rain. We have 8 blocks in the whole weather kind of sequence. How many laps would that be? I mean, because there's a chance that the rain won't be enough, and it might even be a bit of a gamble to stay on your slicks when the rain comes. So if that's the case, drivers like Marc-Valery Bastien and Blake Stevenson or Stelios Repos, you're going to be in a bit of trouble if it turns out that they should probably stay on the slicks opposed to pitting onto the intermediates.
Exactly, because by the time the rain comes, if it's, the track is still going to be a little bit more slippery than if it was dry, obviously. So now if you're on soft tires and they are completely soft and there's a major contact with Eric Cavallo and he makes contact, closes the door on Dougie Falcons. Dougie Falcon tried to get on the inside of him, and that did not happen in turn 1. Dougie Falcons had a bit of contact with him and completely lost out, is dropping down to P9. He's got Marc-Valery Bastien all over his gearbox now. Almost ran into him, actually. Had to put the brakes on pretty hard to avoid Dougie Falcons. So a contact with Eric Cavallo yet again this season. He's been fighting very, very roughly with, or he's been busy, I'd say. He's in the middle of a pack of drivers who just got out with new tires and a bunch of drivers with older tires, as he was fighting with a combined YouTuber earlier on 14-lap-old mediums. And so, it looks like that was the first contact. We'll see if Dougie Falcons decides to ticket this after the race, but definitely a contact there. And to go back real quick with you, Nathan, on the tire discussion, you're right. The likes of Marc-Olivier, Blake, and Stelios, I'm expecting them to struggle under the rain. It's not going to be full grip, and those soft tires, up until the end of the race, it's going to be another 13 laps actually, of tire wear for them. Ultimately, you're going to have soft tires at over 60% wear on not dry surface. That is, I mean, you're playing with fire at that point, quite literally.
And so Dougie's going to try to re-overtake Marc-Valery Bastien after they had a bit of tussle after Dougie spun around, and he has done that move quite cleanly into turn 1. Door was not shut on him because there was no door in front of him. So now he's in P8, about 1.2 seconds behind Aaron Allmeyer right now on way better tires. So we'll see if he can close the gap in this lap. DRS still enabled, of course, as the rain has not come just yet. Had a couple more people into the pit. Actually, might have just been combined YouTuber in the very nice pink Alpine, I must say. And so he's now going to chase down Duncan McCamick and Blake Stevenson, and we'll see what they can do. We'll keep going though, and we kind of look towards this top 6 group because they are very, very close together, and they are starting to pull away from Aaron Allmeyer. And I think the top 6 altogether will be a very interesting fight because we have different tires, and especially with Hudson Pool and Eruption on hard tires, Marcel Paps is Eruption. And so we'll see if they come into the pits this lap. If they don't, then Eric Cavallo, Ryan Newton, and Becky B, and Cam Bourne will have to get past them on track. And it looks like Era is going to try and make a move on track, and Ryan Newton almost flies into the back of Eric Cavallo for good measure. So neither of them into the pit, so this is going to be quite a tussle in this next lap here, and they're only going to be slowed down, which actually could maybe help the likes of Aaron Allmeyer. But on this DRS straight, that is where Aaron is going to lose out the most.
Yeah, Eras absolutely wants to get past those two drivers in front of him with worn tires. It's a difficult circuit to get by other drivers, especially in the first two sectors. At 130R, without any DRS assist, it makes it a little bit more susceptible to car setups and aerodynamic setups there. So Era Carvalho probably getting a little bit impatient and really eager to get past Marcel Paps and Hudson Pool. I'm thinking those two drivers are going to try to go for the rain. Marcel Paps taking the lead of the race on Hudson Pool. There's a little bit of a contact, a little bit of a bump there on the inside corner from Hudson Pool, but so far it is still clean. Eric Cavallo is going to try to take advantage of that situation, but he just can't get past it. So I'm thinking he's got maybe a little bit more higher downforce than the other cars, two cars in front of him. And so I'm curious to see, Nathan. I don't think we'll see Paps and Pool going into the pits at this stage of the race when rain could become part of the game in any lap right now. It could be it could just start coming down any minute.
Yeah, and it doesn't really help Eric Cavallo when the two drivers ahead of him that he's trying to pass are fighting each other. So, for example, into this turn 1, it could be Hudson Pool and Eruption side by side, which won't allow Eric Cavallo to go side by side. Unless it will, they might go 3 wide into turn 1 here.
Oh my goodness.
And does Eric Cavallo make a double overtake? He might, and he does. Hudson Pool trying to stick around the outside, but has not done so. And that is a huge advantage for Eric Cavallo in the Alpine. So now he's going to be trying to take off as much as he can to unleash that pace of the medium tires and have actually Ryan Newton gets past Eruption. So Ryan Newton is the man that Eric Cavallo is trying to run away from. But can Ryan Newton close up the gap, overtake Hudson Pool, and stick with Era? That is the question right now as we look for the lead of the race. And it looks like Ryan Newton might be in a bit of trouble here, Mercedes teammates, but does he go down the inside? He does, but will he have the traction on the exit of the corner? Yes, he will. It looks like Hudson Pool actually tried to give that position away, so now Ryan Newton chases after Eric Cavallo, and then at this point he does have DRS, and he will have better tires towards the end of the race, given that the rain does not come.
Yeah, it's a good move by Hudson Pool. He went wide there out on the outside of the hairpin, giving Ryan Newton the chance to fight for his first Division 1. His first Division 1, and I think his first Zoom Racing League win. It hasn't happened to him yet this season, and I told him at some point this season that it was going to happen. He was going to get lucky and have the chance to fight for a win. This may be his chance here. Ryan Newton, as you mentioned, is going to have the better tire wear or tire advantage to Eric Cavallo towards the end of the race, depending on the weather, and he's going to have DRS on Era. He's not going to go for an overtake, but Era's been going hard on the battery, and we're seeing our first raindrops right now in turn 1.
Yeah, so now I believe that the slick tire battle might become a little bit trickier, especially with Hudson Pool. So he's on the hard tires and they are degrading very quickly. We can see how fast Cam Bourne is catching up to him, but the question is, will he be able to make it to the rain to the point where it crosses over to the intermediate tires? We will have to see, but Cam Bourne is going to be right on his back, so he has lots of problems right now, does Hudson Pool, but can he manage them is the question. So now the soft tire runners, we were talking about it before, would they be able to make it to the point of rain, but would they stay out during the rain? They made it to the point of the rain, but it's all about whether they can go through. So we will keep an eye on that, and we will also keep an eye on Ryan Newton trying to make a move for the lead of the race. Potentially very soon. He has the battery advantage, 26%, and now going all the way down as he goes towards the corner of 130 yard. Does he make a move into the chicane? Does he make a move into turn 1? That is the question which will be answered in the next maybe 10 seconds. We'll check here.
He's definitely going to go for the DRS move here in the main straight and try to run away with it in Sector 1, but he's got to be careful because now this track is starting to get a little bit more wet. It is very light rain as we're on board with Ryan Newton, so he's going to gain the lead back here. He's being very careful. Oh, he's actually not going for it. Shockingly, he didn't go really on the battery here. He's really just trailing Eric Cavallo. Probably going to use Era to carry him until the end of the race, possibly. Maybe he wants to use that advantage to charge his battery. Eric Cavallo went very hard on the battery. I'm thinking, yeah, he practically drained his battery. There's a 30% differential between both of those drivers. So we'll see if these guys, you know, there's already 7 laps to go, Nathan. It's a race that's been very fast-paced, despite, you know, the F1 World Cars being used and the rain now being a part of the mix here. But I'm sure Ryan Newton was going to grab the lead of the race there.
Yeah, and the smile on my face as I see Cam Bourne now in the fight for the lead here. He's not going to be quite as advantageous, maybe is the word, as Ryan Newton will be towards the later stages of the race. But he's on the medium tires now, and he definitely has a pace advantage over the 2 in front of him. So the question is, will he be able to do anything in this fight for the lead? Or will he have to stay behind and just take the podium, which of course I won't have a problem with.
I think Cam Bourne is most definitely in the position to get a race win here because he's got fresher medium tires compared to Eric Cavallo. There's only 7 laps to go. Quick calculation, that would be 13-lap-old medium tires for him. There's definitely going to be enough grip in there to be fighting Ryan Newton. So it's going to be an interesting brawl for the top 3 here.
Yeah, and so now Eruption goes into the pits, and I'd assume he's going on to the intermediate tires. Is that too early, do you think?
Oh.
I think so.
Yes.
But we already have 2 drivers on the intermediate tires, and we'll see the gap from Dougie Falcons to combine
3
YouTube.
drivers going on the intermediates, by the way. Look at that. Blake Stevenson, Dougie Falcons, Marcel Paps all on the intermediates. I'm going to go on board with Marcel Paps here. I want to see how the Sector 1, how the tires are going to react as the combined YouTuber makes a move on the inside of Duncan McCamick in turns 1 and 2.
It looks very slow, doesn't it?
And there's still DRS is activated. Usually that's your telltale sign to switch to the next tires. I'm thinking 19-old hards were just unbearable at that point. Another thing we know is that the undercut is very powerful in Japan too.
Yeah, we take a look at Marc-Olivier Bastien, who's just made a move on Becky B, and now he's got Hudson Poole right in front of him, who he definitely has better tires than 20-lap-old hards. I mean, Hudson Poole still has to pit no matter what, so this is a strategy for Hudson Poole that doesn't exactly work out unless he goes onto the intermediate tires. And right now, the intermediate tires look kind of okay, and now we have a safety car.
So it must be. It's Aaron Altmaier. No, Aaron Altmaier was having a great race, and that is it for him. He lost it just on the outside of Spoon. I think he got a little bit of gravel there, and he sent it right into the wall, and so that is done for Aaron Altmaier. He was a top 5 for a long time in this race, and that is probably the gift from heaven Hudson Poole was just wanting, is that safety car, and now the track will get even more wet given the fact that we're going to be in a slower pace, the rain's falling. The strategy works out for those drivers quite surprisingly. I don't know if they had the time to do it or not. The top 3 is not in the pits.
Oh, they had plenty of time to pit, but yeah, I saw Cam Bourne, he started to turn towards the pit lane, but he was like, nuh-uh, I'm staying out on track, and it was the same case for Maxime Beaulieu. So I wonder now, will these 3 try to help each other out? We still have DRS, so maybe we'll see something kind of Carlos Sainz-esque here. But that's going to be a very, very interesting fight for the top 3 positions. The top 3 all on medium tires that I think can definitely easily make it to the end of the race. But the question is, can they make it through the wet conditions? And we know that all the intermediate tires definitely can. And when you have drivers of such caliber like Ryan Newton, Hudson Poole, Marc-Olivier Bastien behind you, this is going to be a very, very risky strategy for the medium tire runners here.
An even riskier strategy, and I'm wondering if that was not maybe an error, a user error there. Dougie Falcons went back out on soft tires.
So maybe it might be a good strategy to go for the intermediates. Not the intermediates, sorry, the slick tires. because I'm looking on board still with Cam Bourne right now, and the rain doesn't look like it's too bad. I mean, if the rain stays at this level, I think that the slicks will definitely at least be on par with intermediates, if not a little bit faster, but only time will tell.
Keeping an eye on the telemetry here real quick. It's really difficult to tell, and I'm just gonna bring this up here. Yeah, it's really difficult to tell what is the better tires so far. It looks like the soft tires are a lot more performance, but they're slowly it is losing its advantage towards the intermediates. From what I'm reading, and I'm using the telemetry tool, so you know maybe it's not all right here, but I'm reading 3 seconds a lap quicker on softs. So Dougie Falkins might find himself overtaking a lot of intermediate drivers in front of him. That might get him in a little bit in trouble because there's going to be a lot of traffic. However, as we keep going, and especially with the safety car, as we're stretching this race out, the soft tires are losing their performance. So right now, fresh mediums are on par with intermediates, and so Eric, Cam Bourne, and Maxime might be in a disadvantage given that their medium tires are a lot more worn out than the intermediate drivers.
Especially how much the rain is starting to set in now. I can't see exactly the glossy or the surface of the track, but I can tell it definitely looks a bit more wet, especially in Sector 1. So they could potentially be tiptoeing through Sector 1 and trying to keep everyone behind. But it will definitely be a huge fight in these last few laps, and I believe the safety car has to be in this lap.
It should be in, despite Stellus Repaz being far behind. There's no way he's going to catch up to the group, despite them being on safety car by the end of this lap. And so we should have the notice at some point at 130R. I believe by the end of 130R. I'm gonna go on board with Era. But it is really interesting now. The mediums compared to the intermediates, it's tipping over towards the intermediates for sure to begin with, and the soft tires are under 3 seconds of an advantage. So we'll see how these guys make their soft tires work out.
Yeah, and it will continue to lean towards the intermediate tires now as we go around for one more lap, which will surely be the last one. But this is going to be, as I say, a very interesting fight for the top 3 positions. But really, my question is, will it be more fun to watch the top 3, or will it be more fun to watch Dougie Falkins try and go through? As actually, Dougie Falkins is into the pits for another set of soft tires. Very interesting. He really wants that pace, doesn't he? And now Blake Stevenson finds an opportunity to pit as well, but he hasn't actually pit onto the soft tires, so he has pit onto the intermediate tires. So Dougie Falcon's the only one on slick tires below the top 3. This is going to be a very, very, very interesting fight for him, as he can try and maybe make it through all of these drivers. So it's very open question of where could he finish this race, and as it is for everyone on this grid.
I think it's going to be a very hectic end of the race. We're at lap 24 of 27. We're going to have 3 racing laps as we expect the safety car to go in by the end of this lap. And so 3 racing laps. We got top 3 drivers on very worn mediums here. Any one of those guys could win it, or it could be going towards an intermediate driver from Ryan Newton down. Most of them has made the switch. The odd one out is Dougie Falkins on the soft tires. Nathan, I was telling you about a 3-second advantage per lap for Dougie and his soft tires. If I look real quick, I believe it has gone down to 2 seconds now, and it is going under 2 seconds. So it'll be really interesting to see where he could make that work here until the end of the race. I think he's going to have a proper advantage, and I'm seeing Dougie... Looks like Duncan McCamick went off track, letting Dougie by. We know they're teammates. I'm wondering if that was meant to be, or if he decided to move out of the way for a different reason. Nonetheless, safety car is in. Eric Cavallo giving it the last couple sways. The track is a lot more wet. We could see not standing water, but it's definitely got that spray from the drivers behind him. And away he goes. And so Eric Cavallo resumes the race. There will not be any DRS until the end of the race, I believe, because I think the DRS will be deactivated either by the weather, but at least for the next 2 laps, there's no DRS because of the safety car condition. So Eric Cavallo, 7/10 ahead of Cam Bourne. Let's see where Ryan Newton gets to, where he gets the grip compared to Maxime Beaulieu. Oh, it looks difficult for Maxime Beaulieu, doesn't it, Nathan?
Yeah, it's not a question of where, it's a question of how often, and how often is looking like a lot. Is he going to go
he's gonna
for
do
George
it.
Russell-esque move, and he's gone around the outside of Maxime, so now it's a question of how much time it takes him for him to overtake the top 2, and will Hudson Poole be able to follow him through? As he does, he's into P4 now, is Hudson Poole, so now I believe these two are Mercedes. I think Hudson Poole is still Mercedes as far as I know, but he will continue, and Cam Bourne has gone wide now, so Ryan Newton goes into P2, and now Hudson Poole will try and follow him through, and now Maxime is really falling down the order into P7 now, so the intermediate tire is definitely advantageous. Dougie Falcons, we don't really know where he's at right now. He's made up a couple of positions with those soft tires, as I believe, was that Stelios Replas who went onto the grass, and yes it was, and now he's being forced off the track as Hudson Poole makes it past Cam Bourne, and now into P3 he goes. So Mercedes could be looking at a potential 1-2. It's all about whether they can clear this Alpine here. And Eric Cavallo, as he goes through the chicane, he sees the Mercedes in his back, the very black car, and now Ryan Newton will try and go around the outside, and he will make it around the outside, but will he be able to carry enough speed into turn 1? If not, he'll definitely have the grip, but Eric Cavallo is trying to fight this all the way through the corner as they fly through the corner, and it looks like Eric Cavallo holds on to this position, but for how much longer can he make it happen?
Ryan Newton's got to be patient about this. He's got his teammate behind him, who's probably going to be a little bit more patient. Ryan Newton could be looking for his first win here. It is quite obvious with 2 race laps to go that Eric Cavallo does not have the grip to go. He had the higher top-end speed, and did Hudson Poole just make a dive a little bit on the inside there? What is going on with his teammate? These two Mercedes are maybe actually fighting each other. I thought Hudson Poole was going to back out a little bit. He got on the inside of Ryan Newton here. So I think Hudson Poole's going also for the win nonetheless. Eric Cavallo for sure. I mean, that was a great defense into turn 1. But at the end of the day, he's got no grip. And look at the throttle that Ryan Newton is able to come and get. And he's going to have P1. He's on the battery. And ahead of Eric Cavallo he goes. And Ryan Newton, a little bit of over a lap and a half to go. He's possibly looking at his first Zoom Racing League win ever, and he's going to be doing it in fashion in Division 1 if he keeps on doing it that way. Eric Cavallo is dropping behind, and he's now falling into the clutches of Hudson Poole, and Hudson's got to be careful because Marc-Olivier Bassin, who's making a bit of a return into this race after having an incident, is all over the rear of the Mercedes as well. A little bit of slipping and sliding over there with the intermediate driver. He's got to be careful of that chicane. And Dougie Falcons also makes a double overtake into the chicane, and that is P10 for him. I think it was in P16 when it all started, and he's making the soft tires work for sure.
Yes, as Eric Cavallo goes off the track, and Ryan Newton gets his time penalty.
Way.
So actually, that's Ryan Newton who goes off the track, gets a penalty for that. So it might be removed, but it's still about whether he can keep it together. Maybe a bit of frustration with the penalty incurring, but he's got Eric Cavallo 1 second behind him, and Hudson Poole trying to make a move around the outside, but he can't do what Ryan Newton did, until he's only going to be losing time to Ryan Newton. But we'll see whether he can make the gap under 3 seconds at the end of this, and maybe just deny his Mercedes teammate. And Eric Cavallo gets a bump from Hudson Poole, and he goes very deep into the corner, doesn't make the track, and now he's going to have the likes of Cam Bourne flying down his inside, but he doesn't, as Magnussen Cube goes around the outside of Cam Bourne. Eric Cavallo goes wide, and now it's going to be 3 wide into whatever corner that is, and now Eruption makes it past Eric Cavallo. Magnussen Cube makes it past Cam Bourne. It's all happening here. Kyle Blevins not going to make it past Cam Bourne, but this gap at the top, 1.2 seconds on track, it's not going to be enough for Hudson Poole to get the race win. but with the penalty, it looks like it will go the way of Hudson Pool, Marc-Olivier Bastien, Becky B, and maybe even Eruption. As the gap closes, DRS disabled, but it doesn't matter, you won't get it anyway. Under 1 second goes Hudson Pool. Ryan Newton is about to cross the line for his first on-track win in Zoom Racing League, but will it stand is a question that we will have to wait to be answered for the end of the race. And Ryan Newton into P4 off the podium, but I think we should bring him in anyway. Becky B P3, Marc-Olivier Bastien P2, Hudson Pool P1. Hudson Pool wins, and after all of that chaos, it's an order that we see so very often. Hudson Pool winning and Marc-Olivier Bastien in P2. Eric Cavallo made it into P6. He managed to hold on. Dougie Falcons made it up to P8 when he was in P16 at the start of the safety car restart. Cam Bourne dropped down, and he's actually been disqualified and left the session, but he was P10 for the record. And that is a Japanese Grand Prix for you.
Yeah, an exciting one, and Eric Cavallo probably sniffed out a potential victory when Ryan Newton had the 3-second time penalty. A bump from his teammate Hudson Pool cost him dearly, and very difficult to recover with those worn medium tires. And we saw Eric Cavallo dropping down the order, and at the end of the day, it's another Hudson Pool victory as it stands on track. Can we expect a potential penalty for Hudson Pool with that contact with Era? That is possible. We saw Era make a contact with, if I remember correctly, it was Dougie Falcons. Is Ryan Newton's penalty for track limits salvageable? I doubt it. Unless we see him trying to avoid an incident or being pushed off track by another driver, that penalty should stand as it is. Nonetheless, it was an impressive race for those drivers who had to deal with the F1 World Cars, who drive way differently, or significantly differently than the normal cars. And so our podium finishers officially, for now, Hudson Pool, Marc-Olivier Bastien, Brendan Bechtel, 1, 2, 3. Ryan Newton is P4 at the foot of the podium. Marcel Paps is P5, having a difficult spin and early in the race, and comes back in P5. Eric Cavallo, Magnussen Q, P7. Great finish for him. Dougie Falcons with that comeback. He stays on par. He started in 8th on the 8th position and finishes 8th position. Jack combined, Schrei, Stevenson, Blevins, Duncan, Maxime Stellos Repass, and Cam Bourne brings the rear. Arnold Meyer, Spin Axis, I believe that is Koopa, and yours truly, Nathan Doan. That is DNF for the bottom 3 drivers here. Interesting race nonetheless. Interesting impact as well. We're going to see how that goes in regards to constructors and combined constructors as well. So Nathan, as we are definitely used to it by now, let's get our drivers into the waiting room and have them ready for an interview. I believe we have Brendan Bechtel ready to go.
Bring him in here, if you are ready.
Absolutely.
Alright, so P3 finisher. It is Brendan Bechtel in P3. Welcome to the interview booth. How does it feel?
Alright. I don't know if you guys noticed, I had my game crashed.
Yes.
Pretty soon after I switched over to the hards, and I'm sure you could see my pace was quite solid. I felt super comfortable, especially after the transition to the hards. I felt really comfortable. So after that game crash, of course, lost, I don't even know how many seconds and how many places, but that I think I maximized what I could have done after, those circumstances. So really pleased.
Bechtel, how was the weather management in this race for you this race? We saw some drivers going very long to try to make the hard tires last until the intermediate stint on the wet conditions. What was your strategy coming into play, and did you make car adjustments given this, the potential rain coming?
No, I knew the rain was going to be coming right at the end of the race, so I wasn't too worried about it. I'm pretty confident driving in changeable conditions, so I was confident in my dry setup. I was running pretty high downforce anyway, so I knew it would have been fine. So I didn't make any setup changes, just kind of changed my driving a little bit. A lot of understeer. It was really the only place I noticed any difference in the wet was little bit of understeer in turn one, and through spoon, and other than that, felt really comfortable. So, yeah.
All right, so 3 races, 3 podiums, and with the next 2 tracks being Miami and Qatar, can we expect to see more podiums for you?
Maybe in Miami. Qatar, that sounds like a long shot, but we'll give it a try. So far, that track has not agreed with me. And honestly, I don't even know that track yet. So definitely a lot of practice I'll need before that one. But looking forward to it. Did a Miami League race already on this game, so I have a little bit of experience. So looking forward to it. Should be a good race, and hopefully I can keep the streak going.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Brendan. Congratulations again on P3 here in Japan. That was Brandon Bechtel, ladies and gents, Red Bull driver in 3rd position, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Next up, we'll be able to bring in Marc-Olivier Bastien, Nathan.
Yes, sir. P2. Of course, it was Marc-Olivier Bastien. P2 once again. How are you doing today?
Doing good. What are you doing in the broadcast? I saw you on track.
Yeah, so I had a bit of an issue with my brake, got disqualified, and now I'm here.
Oh, great. All right. Happy to see you.
Happy to see you too, my friend.
Marco, it was an interesting race there, given the change in weather. Before we go into the weather and strategy talk of this race, walk us through. There was a bit of an incident where I don't know if you hit him or you nearly hit him. Obviously, with the game physics, sometimes it looks a little bit weird. Going down into turn 1, trying to make an overtake on Brendan Bechtel, and seemingly it didn't work out. You tumbled down to P8 after that situation, came back finishing P2. Walk us through that incident and how hard you had to work to get back into 2nd position.
Yeah, I think that incident was my fault. What happened there is Era was pushing from P3, and so I saw him push. I tried to push because I didn't want Era in front of me on those tires. He was on soft, I think. And when I kind of pulled out of the slipstream of Becky, he kind of did the same to me. Era kind of did the same to me, so he kind of hit me from behind. So I kind of felt bad for, I don't know, half a second. And I was looking behind and we were turning. I didn't turn, so Becky hit me, but it wasn't his fault. It was mine. So yeah, I spun. I was P8. The pace was actually great because I was thinking to catch up to the pack pretty quickly, but I didn't. So at some point, I had to take the decision between going long and stay on track for the rain, or go on soft till the rain. I went on soft. I think it was a good decision because I was able to gain a couple of positions back on those hard runner. And when the rain came, of course I was happy because my stuff were dead. And I don't know why some 3 people stay on the slick tire. It just wasn't a good idea, in my opinion. So plus 3 position, plus the 3 second to Brian, we got a P2. I see Era saying congrats on the win, by the way. I don't know what he's saying. Finish P2, whatever. I think he's had an incident with Hudson.
Oh, he got rear-ended by Hudson, and I think that is what he's saying. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. When you're on slick, at the end when it's raining, of course, I'm sure he braked super early and Hudson rear-handed, went into his back. I don't know. I saw him spun, but kind of spun. I saw him going wide. I thought he went wide on his own.
Yeah, looks like definitely going to be an interesting talk to have with Hudson Poole in a second in regards to that incident there. But yeah, we saw it on stream. Looked like Hudson got the rear end of Era. So yeah, it's interesting. A couple penalties on track could be viewed for different drivers there. But as it stands, for now, we're gonna say congratulations on your P2 finish, and head on to our interview with P1 again with Hudson Poole.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Nathan. Merci, Jean-Mathieu Ranger.
Thank you, Marco.
I understood all of that.
You just exposed
So
my
bef-
real name in front of everyone. That's great.
Alright, before we bring in Hudson Pool, I am doing a bit of mathematics here. Okay. So 5 seconds. Let's take a look at this, shall we? This is going to be very crucial to the championship. So P8 is what here? It's like 14 points? You think?
Yeah, I don't. Do we have that anywhere close? That's a
Alright.
good question.
So Hudson
I
Pool
didn't do the
14.
math yet.
So Hudson Pool 14 points and Eric Cavallo 18 points today, given that Hudson Pool gets a penalty, a 5-second time penalty. I think not only did the man complete a last to first challenge today, but he might have just won himself the Drivers' Championship in doing so. So Hudson Pool, our man, our race winner, at least for now, may be our Drivers' Champion. So here he is now, Hudson Pool, coming across the line first in Japan. How did it feel?
It was awesome. I didn't actually think we were gonna go racing this weekend, so I didn't practice. And then it just seemed like we were actually going to. So I did 30 minutes of practice. I did not practice much and just started from the back for fun. I got taken out through the first few corners, and I just stayed out hoping for like a safety car or rain, because my race was already over, and I got so lucky. That was the only reason I won this race. So then I think I was like P6 or P5 when the safety car came in, and me and Ryan were just going through the slick runners that stayed out. We got through all of them fine, and then Era, he was defending really hard. I tried to go around his outside on the S's and wasn't quite able to do it. And then going into Degna, I think it's Degna 2, he broke super early, and I just didn't have the reaction time to break earlier, and I tapped him. So I don't know if that's going to be a penalty or not, but if it is what it is. But yeah, and then Ryan with the 3 second at the end, just super unfortunate. I don't know if he'll be able to get it removed or not, because he did say that one of them were completely bullshit, so maybe it'll be a 1-2. I don't know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I did this race.
Well, you opened the door, so I'm gonna walk right in. Ryan Newton, I remember having a discussion with him earlier this season. I told him at some point he was gonna get a bit lucky and have a win. He seemed to have done absolutely everything correctly, except for that 3 second time penalty that happened on the very last lap of the race. I don't know if you were in voice chat with him. What was the emotions going on through that? The fact that now he's slipped out of a podium position. Does he really believe he can get that time penalty reverted? And if so, I believe that would have been his first win ever in ZRL, if I remember correctly. So, talk to us about, well, to begin with, how it was for the race, but also how valuable of a teammate he's been this season for you guys.
Well, first, when he did get the penalty, he was really disappointed. And himself, he even said he broke early because of the rain, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but yeah, it was really unlucky. But he's probably one of the best teammates I've had in ZRL for sure. He's just been real chill, and you can just talk to him about setups, and he's chill. I like him. He's definitely one of the cooler teammates I've had in ZRL for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time, Hudson Pool. That is Japanese Grand Prix race winner Hudson Pool. Congratulations again, and we'll see you next time. Next race being in Miami.
Thank you.
All right, Nathan, I want to thank you for joining the broadcast to begin with.
You're welcome.
And yeah, that was another exciting finish in Division 1. The weather, the strategy, and everything that played out made the ending of that very really interesting. What's your view on the Miami circuit, which I'm not sure it is a fan favorite here in ZRL, but I think that's the kind of track I'm going to learn to appreciate as I practice it this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of positive opinions around this track. I think we should personally replace it with Jeddah. Ryan Noon already in talks about kicking Beamer again so we can protest Miami. I think that's not too bad of an idea. So that basically gives you my opinion. But yeah, how about you?
Sure, I'll abstain myself from that kind of opinion, but yeah, you know, it's happened a couple times this season where I look at a track and I'm not feeling it 100% right off the bat, but I'll take Hungary and Zandvoort. Tracks I personally were not my favorites at all, and at the end of the week, you know, practicing Zandvoort a lot, I got to master it and find all the little you know, the sweet spots on the track, and had myself a good race too, just at the foot of the podium as well. So, I'll take it. I think Miami. I know it's not the fan favorite, but there's, you know, there's a lot of overtaking opportunities with those two double DRS zones, or the two long straights, obviously. So, Sector 1 that becomes a little bit redundant of an American Grand Prix, same as Coda with a lot of S's, trying to copy Japan a little bit, but not doing it as well. So, not my favorite Sector 1, but Sector 2 and Sector 3, I think I enjoy a lot. So, we'll see how it goes, but definitely a track I need to practice and, you know, get up to speed with.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. Call me Sergio Perez the way I returned to the race. But I'm glad to be finally back in the booth with you.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. That was a good one. That'll be the end of our stream. We'll see everybody next week in Miami. It's going to be another spectacular race at that moment. And Nathan, I bid you good night. Have a good evening, and I'll see you maybe next time. Good night, everybody.